time. Really appreciate it. Congratulations on the big one over Michigan. Michigan State takes on Iowa this Saturday, November 7th in Iowa City at noon. That game is being televised on ESPN. Coach, thanks for joining us today.
No, thank you. Can you guys hear me okay? All right, awesome. Thank you so much. Before I start on football, I like to say that obviously today is a special day in this country. No matter who you vote for, I would encourage you to vote if you haven't already done so. And also pray that as Americans, post-election, we find a way to be less partisan and come together as a country and develop more humanity and civility for one another. That being said, I'm very proud of how our guys played on Saturday. It was a big win for us and for all of our Spartan fans. Thank you for the tremendous amount of support that you showed our team after we brought the Paul Bunyan Trophy back to East Lansing where it belongs. But as you know, this week, like every week, is about looking forward. We're building on our process, our culture, and we must continue to play tough, hard-nosed football, play smart, and be physical versus Iowa. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
Sounds good. Thanks, Coach. Our first question goes to Chris Solar, the Detroit Free Press.
ML, obviously the 24-hour rule after a game like that is sometimes a little bit difficult to wrangle. How have you been able to kind of keep guys focused on moving ahead, and how much did having a Sunday practice maybe help get them on that path right away?
Yes, our players knew what our schedule would be for this week, before we went to Ann Arbor. So they knew what to expect, and our process is about turning the page. We talk about then, now, and next all the time, and so our players know that we've got a 24-hour rule, and then we move on to what's next. And what we do next is based upon what we've what we did in the game, things that we have to correct and things that we need to build upon, and then working out on Sunday was part of our plan. Our guys did a great job with that, with our stretch and stride, lifting, yoga, and then also corrections, and then turning the page and towards Iowa. So I feel very good about our process. We knew that Tuesday would be a day off, and so we adjusted our schedule to accommodate that.
As a follow to that, as a coach, I know you preached since you got here the neutral thinking idea. Is this one a little different? I mean, the circumstances with the fact that this is your first win, that this is over Michigan and all of that, how have you managed to stay grounded through it?
No, it doesn't change. I mean, we have to move on to the next opponent. I've been in rivalry games before, won rivalry games, and so they're major accomplishments, and they're important, certainly, for everyone that's involved, the current players, our former players, our fans, our alumni, and then, but at some point, you have to move on to what's next. And so, as the head football coach, I have to set the tone and how we do that. And so, that's what we do. It's not an issue.
Next question will go to Stoney with 97 on the ticket in Detroit.
Coach, two questions. Number one, if Trey Mosley doesn't get hurt, does Ricky White have that moment? And question number two, with Matt Allen not playing at center, did you expect your offensive line to just basically kick their butt? You dominated them physically through the offensive line.
That's a great question. I really try to not to go into the hypotheticals, but I do know that Ricky is capable and he's ready to play, and he's made plays in practice, and we're not hesitant to put him in the game as a starter or as a rotational guy.
And as far as the offensive line,
yeah, with the offensive line, Nick has played before. He's shown in practice that he can get the job done, and so we were very confident that he can go in there and give a very strong effort, and along with the rest of our offensive line. Coach Cap is an outstanding offensive line coach, run game coordinator, and he breathes confidence into those guys. Really preaches technique and fundamentals. They've really bought into what he teaches from a technique standpoint, and just an attitude and how we need to play up front. And we really wanted to make some improvements in our run game from week 1 to week 2, and we were able to do that to some degree.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Next question goes to Rico Cooney with Spartan Magazine.
Good afternoon, Coach. I got a two-parter here. First of all, can you talk a little bit about just Connor Hayward and him opting back into the program and what he's meant in and out of the locker room? And then also, could you speak to Iowa and just kind of what problems they bring to the table?
Yeah, well, Connor Hayward has done an outstanding job since he's been back with us, and he's a versatile athlete. He's a smart young man. He's got very high football IQ, so he can do lots of different things for us. Running the ball. He's a receiving threat out of the backfield, and also he's very productive in pass protection, which is very important at the running back position. And so he's done what we've asked him to do. He's worked really hard. He's been a very good teammate and been unselfish, and he's very coachable. So he's certainly on the right track, and we're looking for him to continue to improve, just like the rest of the guys. In terms of Iowa, obviously Kirk Ferentz is the longest tenured coach in the Big Ten. I've known Coach Ferentz for a very long time. I have a tremendous amount of respect for him. He is a great football coach, and he has a great staff, and they always have very good continuity on their staff. Iowa is a very tough place to play. I don't think we have any players on our roster that have played there. But I've been there, and we have several coaches on our staff that have been there as a player or a coach, and we know that that it's a tough place to play, whether they have fans or not. They're a very strong, physically strong football team. They're physical. They have just a mentality of Iowa football, which is they're going to want to try to win the line of scrimmage. They have very good skilled players on both sides of the ball, and they play relentless on special teams. So it is a tremendous challenge for us, and this week our preparation will have to be even a notch above what we did last week.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah.
Our next question, we go to Lindsey Huddleston.
Hi, Mel. First of all, thank you for your comment on calling for unity. But what I want to talk to you about is culture. We've been hearing your players and your coaches all talk about the buy-in, and we hear that terminology so much with no real evidence other places. But clearly there's evidence that there is buy-in. So what is it about your players' character, these coaches, and even your approach that is leading to so much evidence of real buy-in here at Michigan State?
Yeah, thanks, Lindsay, for that question. Culture is huge, I believe. I really think that that's the foundation. That's the key to any organization. When putting the staff together, first and foremost, I wanted to make sure that we had the coaches of high character that were very team oriented and unselfish, and that understood the importance of buying into something that's bigger than themselves. And so all of our coaches are like that, and so that really helps me as the head coach really set the tone for the culture, and then ask my staff to help convey that message to the players. We have spent a lot of time working to connect, personally with our players, even throughout this COVID situation, and that goes a long way. Our language, words we use, and the things we say are very consistent, and there's substance behind those words. Culture is not just slogans or signage on the walls. It's how we live and how we work and how we treat each other day in and day out, and how we go about our business. And from that standpoint, I believe that our players, what they've seen from us as a coaching staff and what we've talked about is really resonated with them. It makes sense to them. And it's day in and day out. It's very consistent, and players see the value in a consistent, process-driven organization with coaches and leaders that have done it before and have had success. And so the buy-in has been there with our players, but however, you're always hammering culture. You're always looking to get better. You're always selling your program. Recruiting is not just recruiting high school players. I was taught a long time ago that you have to recruit your own players every day. And so you're always selling, and making sure that you're working to capture the minds of your student athletes, and meet them where they are, so that you can give them what they need and help them to understand how buying into the culture, how it helps them individually on and off the field, and how it helps the team.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Next question is with Eric Bach with Impact Sports.
Hey, Coach. Arguably the biggest improvement from week 1 to week 2, other than the elimination of turnovers, was the overall play of the offensive line. So what specific things did they do better in the Michigan game that weren't happening in the Rutgers game, in your view?
Well, obviously, like you said, we expected, improvement from week 1 to week 2. And, Coach Cap, does an outstanding job with, in terms of coaching. I mean, coaching is teaching, and he is an excellent teacher, and he hammers technique and fundamentals along with playing with toughness and grit, and playing together and communicating and always pushing guys to be better. And so, last week was a very physical week of practice. It was tough, it was taxing, and guys had to strain, each and every day in the drill work and in the group work and in the team work, and also were challenged in the classroom. And they respond to Coach Cap and what he's demanding that they do. And it's just a matter of taking it from the meeting room to the practice field and to the game. And so, we were able to improve fundamentally with pad level, hand placement, assignment, being assignment sound, and also just in coordination with, with our backs and with our tight ends in terms of, pass protection, the tight ends involved in the run blocking, and also with our backs in terms of how they hit the hole, the velocity in which they hit the hole and hit it up in there the way it needs to go. And so those are all things that we worked on last week, and we're continuing to work on this week.
Thank you.
Our next question is from Stephen Brooks with 24/7 Sports.
Hey Mel, hope you're doing well.
Thank
At
you.
the very top, you mentioned, the sort of divisive political atmosphere in your opening comments. So when your program has encouraged voting and participating in that process so much, does part of the messaging or communication have to be sort of respecting views and opposing views when you're obviously talking about deeply partisan, deeply emotional factors that go into some of this stuff? Does that something that you have to balance in terms of unity and also, of course, pushing these guys to be involved with it all?
Yes, I mean, everything that we've done with our players in terms of civil engagement has been nonpartisan.
Right.
And we just encourage our guys, to be civically engaged. We talked about, education, communication, and resources. And in our out of season, we were able to provide those things to our players. And through that education and with a series of speakers and conversations, the topic of respect, and compassion, and empathy, those words and those terms, come up quite a bit. And so, I believe that our players and our coaches understand that. And, we've been able to open up and communicate and have real conversations about that. And it's not, it's not just relative to, when you think about it, it's not just relative to civil engagement, but it also carries over into everyday life. And, if you look at our locker room and how, and the demographics of our locker room and how it's composed, and even and on our staff and our support staff, we have diversity, in our organization. And so being able to to have compassion and empathy and respect for different people, for people's views, whatever they may be, I think that's critically important to having a functional organization that can thrive, and use diversity as an advantage, and not something that is necessarily polarizing.
Thank you.
Our next question is from Matt Wenzel with MLive.
Hey Mel, just going back from week 1 to week 2, it looked like the defensive line showed improvement, specifically up or in the middle with Naquan and Jacob, and then you mix in Deshaun and Jalen. What'd you see from those guys, and kind of setting the tone for you guys up front, and obviously a pretty solid defensive effort?
Yeah, well, it's important, like you mentioned, 4 guys that you can rotate inside. They can go in there and be productive and play those positions, play the game the way it needs to be played. And that's important because, when you can rotate 4 guys inside, and you can keep guys fresh, and then they can play hard each and every snap. And if they need a blow, or when they need a blow, then you can get them out and get another guy in, and you don't get drop off. And so that's very important, to see guys develop in a way that we feel confident that we can have a solid rotation inside. I believe on defense you have to be strong up the middle, kind of like baseball, what your catcher, your pitcher, shortstop, second base, center field. Same thing with your, defensive line, inside backer, and that safety position. You got to be strong down the middle. And so, you know, we're getting better in that regard, and we're going to have to continue to improve with our technique and our fundamentals and our mental disposition towards competing in our competitive toughness, our CT factor, in our front and on our entire team, including special teams. Being physical and being tough, mentally and physically is a big part of the game of football. And, ultimately, the game comes down to hitting and, the physical nature and imposing your will on the opponent. And certainly when you look at Iowa and how they play a physical brand of football year in and year out. And this season is no different. And so, we're preparing ourselves to be physical on Saturday. In order to do that, we have to practice that way. And so, we'll be physical in practice, and then we'll look to take that to the game.
Thanks, Mel.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Our next question is from Justin Rose with WXYZ in Detroit.
Hey, Mel, you've talked a lot about Spartan Nation since you kind of got here and different things like that, but getting a Michigan win, did you feel the impact of that within the fan base, your players and your program? Because social media was obviously a buzz over the last 48 hours with the win, and I'm just wondering if you are cognizant of how much more impactful and meaningful that game is after the fact that you won.
Yes, I'm keenly aware of that, and like I said, I'm proud of that. Spartan Nation is pleased and excited about our program and about our win against the school down the road and bringing that Paul Bunyan Trophy back to East Lansing. That's a source of pride for all of our fans and all of our supporters. And I knew that going in to the game. I've known that for a number of years. I mean, I'm from Ohio. I played in the Big Ten. I started my career here in 1997 and 98 here, at Michigan State. And so, I understand and embrace and respect the rivalry. And so, there's no doubt about it. And I made sure that our players knew how I felt about it, that when you play the school down the road, that is the game every year. And so we embrace that. And so obviously to win that game is huge for Spartan Nation. And again, I'd like to thank Spartan Nation for their support of our program, of our players and our coaches. We feel the passion, we feel the energy, and it's something that's special. I love Michigan State, and I love our fans. And I love their passion for football and the expectations that they have for us and the standard. And so that's something that we embrace, and that's something that I think about each and every day. And it's certainly a motivating factor for all of us, because we know what's expected, not from things that we expect from ourselves, but also from our fans and our former players and alumni. There's a lot of pride here at State.
And to follow that up, before Mark D'Antonio took over, I think Michigan State was 4-4 after wins over Michigan, and during D'Antonio's time, they were 7-1. Are you cognizant of, this game is a big game, but the next one's just as big if you want to continue to have success this season?
Yeah, well, the next game is the most important game always, and I know that the history, the past is not necessarily predictive of the future unless you don't change the behavior. And so our plan and our process is to work to get better each and every day, to fix the issues that we had in the game and make those corrections. And we had quite a few, and then continue to build on the positives that we have as we continue to build our process and learn more about our players, and put our guys in the best position in games to make plays and put them in the best position to be successful. And so that's where our focus is this week, is working to get better each and every day in all phases, on and off the field. And we're going to need to improve as a football team in order to go on the road to Iowa and compete and be at our best.
We have time for a few more. I know that there's a lot of questions left. I'll try to get to everybody if we have time. We'll go to Matt Charbonneau, the Detroit News.
Mel, I'm going to ask you real quick. We referenced the offensive line earlier. We saw Matt Allen was there in Ann Arbor but didn't play. Was his not being available, is that like an injury or thing or something like that, or was it you wanted to make a move up front and get Nick in there? How'd that all come together? Yeah, no,
Matt's banged up, but we wanted him there because he's a leader for us, and we wanted him there. We wanted his presence there as a leader on our offense line, as a leader on our team.
And I want to ask you too, Wisconsin, your alma mater, today again announced they're not going to be able to play this week because of COVID. When you see those things in the Big Ten, I know you guys have done well with it. Is it kind of a reminder that you need to kind of stay vigilant on those things in order to avoid these sort of, issues moving forward with your team?
Yes, we remind our players constantly, whether they're visually with signage in the locker room or PowerPoints. We continue to point out issues that are happening maybe around the country or in our state. We're just very real with our guys and very upfront and truthful about the state of affairs. And we encourage our guys to continue to adhere to the behavior modification that is needed for us to continue to be able to practice and play. We talk about it all the time. I actually heard guys on the bus on the way back as we were pulling back up to our facility. I heard guys on the bus reminding each other to protect our bubble, be smart, stay with the protocols, and protect our football team. And so that's something that we talk about daily because it's real. But again, I commend our medical staff, our medical team. Sally Nogle, our longtime trainer here, does a fantastic job. Dr. Kovan, Dr. Avellino, everyone is all in with our protocols and just working with our players and our staff to try to keep everyone healthy and safe as we possibly can throughout this very, very trying time.
Thanks, Mel.
The next question is from Rainer Saban with the Detroit Free Press.
Hey, Mel, given your emphasis that you placed on messaging and also the challenges you faced on the recruiting trail, how big and consequential was this victory over Michigan?
Well, like someone mentioned earlier, we have a process and we have a plan, and we convey that to our recruits. It's always good when you can see, when the recruits can see just the tangible results and, evidence of what we've communicated to them in terms of our culture and, what our expectations are and what we're building here. And so, you know, they were able to see that on Saturday, and, we have to continue to, work hard to become, more physical, more sound, better execution, to play the brand of football that we need to play and that we expect to play. But certainly, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt in recruiting when those recruits and their families can see the process taking taking shape and the culture being cemented, right before their eyes.
And to follow up from what you've seen, I mean, has there been a extremely positive reaction from recruits and even people that you've already had committed to the program in this first class of yours?
Yeah, there's been a lot of positive, reaction, to our staff, just not just from the game on Saturday, but what we've done with them and how we've communicated and connected with them, before that. And so, we're just, working really hard to prove ourselves every day and to earn it every day and not to take anything for granted. Like I said, back in February, we have a chip on our shoulder and we have something to prove. And so, that's what it takes. You have to earn it, you have to prove it, and you have to be able to demonstrate, what you're all about, as you build and recruits and their parents and the high school coaches, they're keenly aware and they can see, they notice, the little things. They notice, changes in culture. They notice improvement. They notice energy. They notice, improvement, and they notice and they appreciate, connecting with coaches in authentic ways. And so, and they also, I think they also pay close attention to what our players say about our program when they get an opportunity to do so. And so, we're just going to continue to build on our process in recruiting and also in developing our current team.
Thank you.
And try to get to everybody. I think we have about 4 more questions and we should be able to get to everyone. We'll go to Audrey Dahlgren with WLNS.
Well, Rocky was mentioning earlier when we talked to him, just the excitement that he had for this game, kind of it's going to be a homecoming for him in a sense. How have you heard him express that excitement, either you or the coaching staff or the players at practice? And how do you hope that he channels that energy in a positive way versus going into Iowa and using it might reflect in a different way?
Yeah, well, in the game of football, it's you practice so much and you prepare so much, because football is a year-round sport nowadays, and so you do so much preparation for only so few opportunities when you think about it. And this season we actually have fewer opportunities than we normally will have, and so every game is an opportunity, and we need to be excited about it. Obviously, for Rocky, he's excited, but he's up for meetings. He's up for practices. He loves football, and so but I have heard him express to our team that he knows that this game is going to be a physical game, and we got to get better this week in practice. He's verbalized that to our football team, and that's what leaders do. And so our process is just day to day, working to get better, working to improve, working on our technique and fundamentals. Our toughness. We need to be able to play faster. We need to play smarter. We need to continue to work on our conditioning so that we can give ourselves the best chance.
Thank you.
Next question goes to Nick Baumgartner with The Athletic.
Hey, Mel, thanks for doing this. We talked so much about that week 1 to week 2 improvement. I know you've been around a long time and been through this many, many times, but defensively, when you looked at where it was week 1, and when you say we need to be better in X, Y, Z before week 2, was there 1 or 2 areas that you really thought needed to jump? And then did you get the jump where you thought you might?
Well, I felt like, defensively, our guys, in our entire team, that week 1, I thought they played hard for 60 minutes, 4 quarters in the game. But, obviously, we had to, improve, fundamentally, communication, rush and coverage working together. We needed to improve in those areas, and just with our overall physicality, and playing fast, and Scotty and that defensive staff, they've done a great job in connecting with our players, continuing to teach, motivate, and develop, and our guys. They like our scheme, and they embrace the coaching, and I feel like our players play for our coaches, and our coaches coach for our players, and so and that's how you get better. And our practices, were tough, and they're always tough and taxing, and this week will be no different.
Thanks, Mel.
We have time for 2 more questions. We'll go to Nate Atkins with the Lansing State Journal, and Jim Comparoni from Spartan Magazine will ask the last question. Nate?
Thanks for doing this, Mel. Just with Ricky, I'm just curious, when a freshman has a big game like that, and he's kind of now more on the radar for other defenses, what's the challenge just from a coaching staff to, number one, scheme up opportunities for him when he's getting more coverage, but also to work with a freshman on kind of taking that next step and adjusting to what defenses are doing?
Yeah, well, we never want to leave it up to one guy on offense. And so, we want to have balance on offense, not just, run pass balance, but also, balance in terms of, targets and carries and touches and things like that. And it's getting as many people involved as we can. And so, with Ricky, along with all of our other players, there's room for improvement in all areas, and that's what we need to do this week. And so, Coach Johnson and the offensive staff, they're going to put together a game plan that they think is going to put our players in the best positions to make plays. And all we're asking our players to do is, and we talk about it, all day, every day, just do your job. Do your job and trust that the man next to you is going to do his job. And so that's what we have to be ready to do. We have to be ready to do our jobs and make the plays that we're supposed to make the plays that are presented to us for 60 minutes, 4 quarters in a game. And so, we'll see how it goes. Fortunately, we have several players, on offense that have shown that they can make plays and can produce in games. And so certainly, we're not just relying on one player to carry the load for the entire offense.
Thank you.
Our last question goes to Jim Comparoni with Spartan Magazine.
Hey, Mel, you were talking about the importance of communication and so forth, and I noticed that you played a number of different coverages without any noticeable slip-ups, didn't give up a play of more than 26 yards. How difficult of a challenge was that against that opponent, and how far along is this defense in doing those things, do you feel, and what were the keys to having that kind of communication, if communication is a big part of being sound with those various coverages in the defensive back seven?
Yeah, communication is so key in the game of football. I mean, you've got 11 guys out there that need to be on the same page on every play, and if one guy is not where he's supposed to be, it could result in a big play. It could result in a touchdown. And so our communication has continued to improve on both sides of the ball. And I think what you see defensively is a team, is a group of guys that is taking coaching, embracing the challenges that we present to them, because we're pressing them hard every day to get better. And they're learning more about what their job is and what it takes to get their job done on a consistent basis, and also knowing where they fit in the scheme and where their teammates fit as well. So you can have when you know those things, you can just focus on doing your job and know and have confidence in the man next to you that he's going to get his job done. And that's how you play good, that's how you play good team defense. And so, that's what we have to continue to do, in our process on both sides of the ball and special teams is really, just really improve our communication, understanding of what we're being asked to do, individually, and how that ties in to the entire to the overall scheme, in order to have efficient and successful plays. And that's coaching has a lot to do with that, but also on the player side of it, embracing coaching, being able to handle harsh criticism and constructive criticism, and then preparation, film study, and just working really hard in practice to get better and to understand. I mean, it's preparation is key, and that's why we practice. And so this week we have to get better in all phases, offense, defense, and special teams, in order to give ourselves the best chance to have success at Iowa.
You also mentioned the process. How much is discipline a part of that process? Because in this rivalry, the last 2 years, the team that won did a lot of taunting on the field after the game and in social media. I noticed your team, you had one player in the game that had a personal foul and looked like he caught it pretty good on the sideline. After your team won, I didn't see any taunting, and it's been pretty reserved on social media. Is that something you talked about, and how important is that part of discipline in the process?
Yeah, discipline is critical. To having a functional and successful program this built to last. Discipline is doing what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, the way you're supposed to do it, and understand why it's important to do it that way. That's discipline. And so we talk about that and give we show them concrete examples of having good discipline, and also we show examples of we show them video of poor discipline. And so I believe that discipline is 85% anticipation. So we try to anticipate, as coaches, anticipate situations that could come up in the game, and proactively educate our players on those situations. And then when things do come up in practice, we confront them right away and demand that they do it right. I'm not, you know, I'm not a believer in taunting. We tell our players, do not talk to the opponent. You know, your actions speak so loudly that I can't hear what you're saying. There's no need to talk to the opponent. You know, there's no need to taunt. You know, that's not part of how the game is meant to be played. That's not how we are going to play football here. And so relative to social media, you know, there's nothing to say about an upcoming opponent on social media or any. There's nothing to say. There's nothing to talk about. And the only time that I see where it would be appropriate for a player to talk about the opposing team is in a structured media setting when asked a question about that team. And obviously, you know, we want to show obviously, you know, respect for our opponents and their coaching staff. And so, you know, that's what we talk about, and that's our standard, and that's not going to change. And when players, you know, when things do happen, like you referred to, if we do have an undisciplined type penalty, then, you know, we're going to confront it, we're going to demand, and we're going to address it. And it has been addressed. And because, you know, that's my responsibility to make sure those things don't happen.
All right, thank you.
All right, well, I think we got to everybody. We had a lot of questions today. I really appreciate your time, Coach. And we'll
Thank you.
in Iowa City.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate what you guys do. I know that you guys have a tough job, and I understand that. And so hopefully, you know, we can continue to work together, and we can give you what you need to get your job done. And we're looking forward to going on the road and competing against Iowa. So thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks,
Go
Mel.
Braves.
Safe
Thanks,
travel.
Thanks, Mel.
Thank you.
Well,